Ja, wir machen das heute in Englisch, weil das auch gewollt ist. Wir haben hier tatsächlich über 50% der Gäste kommen aus dem Ausland, also deswegen machen wir das. Trotzdem, wenn es um die Diskussionsrunde geht nachher, falls Sie das Gefühl haben, Sie können auf Deutsch eine Frage stellen, ist auch kein Problem. Das verstehen wir natürlich auch. Yeah, thanks for coming today. Our topic is the EU Green Deal and challenges and opportunities. My name is Randell Greenlee. I'm responsible at the VPLT, the German Entertainment Technology Association, for Commerce and International Affairs, which means I'm the person that normally goes to Brussels and talks to the EU Commission, especially to DG Environment, about many different themes. For example, the Eco-Design Directive, where we talk about lighting and how sustainable is that, energy efficiency. But I think many people don't understand exactly what the Green Deal is. It's called the Green Deal, but ecology is part of it. You know, ecological things in our industry. It's basically an economic and growth strategy of the EU. In other words, they see the only future for the European economy is to finally have climate neutrality by 2050. That means we have no greenhouse gases, we have no CO2 by 2050. Another thing that they want is, of course, containment of all environmental pollution. It's clear. Today I have a report from Brussels. We're talking about getting rid of mercury, Quecksilber. In 5 years, there won't be any product in the European Union that has mercury in it. None. They won't be allowed. A lot of problems with the medical industry at the moment. Maybe it'll be 6 or 7 years, but these are the things that are happening in Brussels. And because we are an economic union, the EU has a lot of power on this. It's not like everything in education, they don't have a lot of power in that, but if we're talking about economic things, then the EU has a lot of power to tell the member states what they need to do. The third thing is, and this is something very positive, in the Green Deal, it's very clear that there's going to be support for all of the industries to get this done. As a matter of fact, very few people know this, but the EU is spending till 2030, in other words, in 8 years' time now, 2,350 euros for each citizen in the EU to get the Green Deal done. So, they're going to try to support it. And this is something also I think that is important. It should be a very just and fair transition. So we're not just talking about ecological changes, transformation within our industry and all others, but also about social aspects. How resilient are our working places? Are we sustainable in the way we work with our own people? So all of these things, European skills agenda, lifelong learning. I told this yesterday, we were talking about the Fachkraft. Get ready. There will be updates every 2 years. People will be learning their entire lives. Not 3 years, but they'll always be going back and learning new things because that's part of the Green Deal. So what do we need to do? It's a long list. I don't want to go through all of this. When you're in Brussels, we talk about what does the live performance of industry need to do? Well, we've got to get, I think I'm losing, could it be the battery? We'll see. Like I said, there's a lot of things that they expect us to do, and of course, regenerative growth models, we need to, they're asking us to provide. Of course, they're going to do a lot of regulations, but they want us to first bring things to the table, okay? They want us, of course, to have energy saving, resource saving, all these things that we all know that belong to the ecological footprint of a company, an organization, or a product, or a service, as far as that's concerned. And of course, they want us, like I said, to have very resilient working conditions and make sure that people are working safely. All these things belong to the Green Deal. I think the two biggest things that we're dealing with right now, though, and we'll be talking about that in the discussion, very happy that I have some really good people to talk about this today, is that we need to have product environmental footprints that, through a European certification process where it's clear this loudspeaker is as sustainable as it can be. And what that means is that in the year 2050, This loudspeaker has to be 100% recyclable. Nothing is thrown away. Nothing. It's reused for something else. And also biodiversity, all of these things, every time we talk about a product in our industry, a microphone, a lighting instrument, then the question will be, how long does it last? It also needs to at least last, be used for at least 20 years. Better would be 25. 25 years of service and 100% recyclable. So those are the goals we're talking about, and also OEFs. Those are organizational environmental footprints. Every organization will also have to prove we are sustainable in everything we do. So it's a big thing, and like I said, what is sustainable, what is green? Everybody knows there are thousands of possibilities for certification. We'll be talking about a very good one today with Ilona from the EVVC. But there are so many certifications out there. Which ones can you trust? This is the reason why in the Forum Veranstaltungswirtschaft we've decided that we definitely want European certifications, and it's a very complicated process. We will be trying to establish technical secretariats as soon as possible for each product category, for each type of organization that we have in the industry, because that's the only way that we'll be able to have the proper regulation. Like I said, the DG Environment, the Director General of Environment in Brussels, expects our industry to come to the table and say, this is what we can reach by 2025, this is what we can reach by 2030, and all the time we have to know in 2050, 100% recyclable, at least 20 years of service, everything we use. So it's going to be an interesting trip. So thank you very much. Please take part in the discussion. I'd like to have Arvid. We need Alexander, right? We started a little early today.
Thank you so much. Dankeschön. Ich war ein bisschen noch hinter der Bühne, ich musste schnell hierher rennen. So, wir haben natürlich noch ein paar Speaker bzw. Referenten, die jetzt in die Panel-Diskussion, in die Podiumsdiskussion mit uns kommen. Und zwar zum einen Alexander Pietschmann, CEO der Adam Hall Group. Ilona Jarabek, Managing Director Musik- und Kongresshalle Lübeck und Präsidentin des EVVC. Herzlich willkommen. Und Mike Keller. Mike Keller ist Managing Director, Markthalle Hamburg, Sustainability Manager and Consultant. Wir bitten euch einmal auf die Bühne. Und ab jetzt übernimmt die Moderation Randell in dem Panel. Viel Spaß.
Nehmen wir sie in die Mitte. Ja, like I said, wer natürlich Fragen auf Deutsch stellen will, das ist kein Problem. Ich glaube, wir verstehen auch die Sprache. But at any rate, we want to open the discussion today simply by asking some very simple questions. Among others, Ilona, EVPC, you have your own certification program that you've been working the last couple of years. And what I really would like to ask you is, what have your experiences been going through a certification process for venues? What's it like?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Randall, and hello, everybody. And please let me make two remarks before I come to your question.
Sure, sorry.
So, sustainability is really a topic near to my heart, as it is, I think, to all of you. And as being the only woman here on the panel, I look forward. I'm looking forward to a future where diversity in all senses are represented in our workforce. So whether it is here on the stage or whether in the audience. So I must to point out that in the first. And the EVVC represents about 650 venues all over Germany and Europe. And of course, as well as many other service providing companies involved in the meeting industry. And as you told already, the EVVC is for many years has been committed to sustainable action. I'm very proud of that, and I think we have no option. We have to start. And one thing, or one being, is the, or let me say, our locations are prepared I think. And we have some instruments to achieve the goals of the Green Deal. For example, the Green Globe certification. You told already it's an international label, but we adapted it to our locations. And I think, of course, this is not the sole solution for us, but it's a step. It's a first step. And you will be aware of things. You will come to new impulses to act in a sustainable way. So let me see. For example, my location was the second one in all Germany who had been certified. It's already 10 years ago, so we are already on the way. And now about 1/3 of our community are certified, and I hope there will be more. And when I come next year to this fair, I hope everybody is certified, or at least sign or join our sustainable code, verpflichtet. So that would be an encouraging first step. Yes, and maybe you told already this kind of the program could be developed further to the Green Deal, so to achieve the goals.
Maybe I did forget, I made a mistake maybe by not allowing each maybe to make a small statement. Mike, before we start with the questions, would you like to say anything from your perspective? I mean, we're all here today because we know, I think, that sustainability is a very big topic. But you're at the Markthalle. I mean, maybe say a little bit about what you do, and one of the first in the industry to try to find out what type of sustainable development goals should we have.
Well, that's a huge question, but I was here at this exhibition for 22 years ago the first time, so I'm really happy to be here today and to give something back somehow. We started with the Markthalle, which is I don't know if anyone of you knows this traditional venue, is a music location where Depeche Mode had the first concert ever in Germany, Metallica and many more. Rock Palace sessions, the Police and all that. So, and we started with sustainability when I started there 2015, so 7 years ago. And we started with eco-profit certification, which was basically an environmental assessment to find out where our action fields are, how we work with resources and water, energy and all that stuff. And then we find out, okay, the easiest way to get there, to get started, is to go with the eco-power. So we took Greenpeace Energy for powering the venue. And then during this process, we found out, okay, there's much more to do. And I did a certification on the ISO 26000, which is a very general sustainability certification. And that opened doors for me because I didn't know a lot about SDGs. They were started 2015, I think, at that time. So, and I recognized, okay, it's not only environmental, it's social, it's a huge thing. It's the beginning of a transformation for our business. And then we went on that path step by step, and some things are going well, some not. And last year we did the Common Good certification, Gemeinwohlökonomie it's called, from Christian Felber. And we realized that we are also stuck in system limits, Systemgrenzen called in Germany. It's a strange word, but it means we can't do everything. When we talk about human rights and supply chains, and we have an international promoter who's bringing the bands for, I don't know, 100 shows around the globe, we cannot influence this one in depth, but we can influence it in venues. So this is our action field, the venue. So this is where we started.
Yeah, that sounds good. Alexander, you know, you're the head of a global company that provides professional event solutions in all areas of the technology, and you've made a very early commitment to, for example, reach half the CO2 emissions at Adam Hall by 2030. So that's, you know, very ambitious, I think you could say. What would you say about that?
I mean, first of all, I congratulate all the people in the audience joining their time here. It's spent very wisely, because normally every seat must be filled, not because we are here, just because this issue is actual than ever. It don't feel that it's really important because there are other important things going on in the world, but I think they have something in common. It started with the pandemic, and the pandemic is a problem of climate change and how we relate to nature, how we relate to animals, how we do things. It comes back. It doesn't work out. So that's a big problem, first of all. Secondly, now we see there's a terrible war going on, and crises always have one thing in common. It makes everything bigger. And now we see that we have an energy problem. We have an energy problem because we are dependent on one of the world's most criminals at the moment, and we do not only buy from these guys, we also buy from other guys, which are not the same, but also have some problems. So fossil energy is the end game to change to be really sustainable at the end. And because of all these problems, we think we don't have time to deal with the Green Deal, or we have to stop that, and we have to go back to things. And it can be a solution for 1 or 2 years to deal with the situation, just because we have also economically dealing, other political leaders, with the situation. But at the end, fossil energy needs to go away, and we need to find other ways to be more sustainable. And there are good solutions already there, but we can talk about that later. But I think that's the reason why it's very clever now as a company to tackle that issue. And I'm very happy that many companies are here now and are more and more getting interested. And I'm very happy personally for our corporation that we started it a little bit later than you guys doing it. I think 2018 we started with you and with a Green Globe certification, which probably seems not very fitting for a manufacturer. But what we did was we have our own venue which we are running to present goods and to have it in a real life environment and to learn also. We have academy programs running. And we want to learn how venues are dealing with that issue. Because if we know how venues are dealing with the issue, we understand better as a manufacturer what kind of products we need to do, because they are always in venues. We are always in venues bringing people together. If we understand better the footprint of a venue and how is it made and what they are dealing with and how people relating in venues and what's the waste thing, what's the energy thing, we can make better products. That was our approach. We started, and now very happy that we are at the moment, our headquarter in Frankfurt is 100% powered climate neutral. But of course our supply chain is a big mess, to be honest. We purchasing in the whole world, and it's a really one of the biggest tasks, I would say, we have now in the next 10 years. And our commitment, as you mentioned it, to make it, bring it to a point, is reduce it 50% to 2030, which means we relate not to 1990, which is the European Green Deal is doing. We relate to 2018 as we started the initiative for us internally. That's the reference point for us, not 1990. Because some people probably think, why just 50? Because the rule says 55.
Right.
So, okay.
But I would like to make a point here. A lot of people in the industry did start fairly early. I mean, the EVPC, especially with the venue, the Green Globe, and the idea of doing that. But what I'd like to do now, before we open up maybe for questions, just ask each of you, what can people in our industry do right now? I mean, without having to go through an ISO certification, or what can they do right now, Mike, that just would make sense? I'm not saying you shouldn't start thinking about doing more complicated things, but what can they do?
I think, first of all, my experience, there's always somebody in a company who is already on this path. So you have to identify this person, and I think they're already there. So you just have to make a clear commitment, and this was my advantage as a managing director. I could say, okay, we have to go that path. So I hadn't the big discussions with somebody above me, and my shareholder, he said, okay, go for it. So that was easy. So and then you have to find out, okay, where are we call it low-hanging fruits. Changing to eco-power is very easy. It's not that complicated. And then, of course, you need some advice from outside to see, okay, what can we do, and to bring it more to a professional quality management standard.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Ilona, what would you say?
Yeah, I agree with Mike, and I can say a very, very easy answer. Just use stairs instead of the elevator. You can start with that. And of course, look for regional products and partners, and start networking on that topic. I'm sure you will get good ideas and good experience from your partners, and hear about many things you can do as well. And our colleagues are really the best advisors, I think, and at least you can save money with it.
Especially with energy at the moment. Very
yes.
good point.
Yes, and I must say, in my location, I'm sorry always to speak about my location, but I'm very proud. We reduced a lot of energy and costs, about 70% in 3 years. So I think it's worth to start.
Right, a big part of the cost. Alexander, what would you say? What would you suggest?
First of all, it's now very clear to reduce energy makes sense. And I think the price of energy was not right then, before. So perhaps now the prices are up, and it's a problem for many, especially in the social issue. But I think the price was too cheap. We don't see the real cost of things. And I have 3 really simple advice. First is switch to eco energy, reduce energy. That's very simple to do. You can do it now by the phone. If you just want to do it right now, you can start switching your energy. If you not did it already, I think most of you did it already here, but advise it to others. Secondly, offset everything else. So if you are traveling, need to travel, offset it. They have many options are there to offset your energies. You can do it personally also, and you can try to do it with the company. But first of all, you need to know what you are doing. And third advice is eat less meat, which is a real problem as well. And fourth is do a certification, network, like all the others are saying, and identify the people in your company moving things forward. And I'm sure there are people. So to do it more practical. But the 3 things you can start today, which I mentioned first. The other things take a moment. Yeah, that would be probably a good start.
I'm going to stick with you, Alexander, because let's talk business. Okay, you're committed now to sustainable practices in your company. You try to make the most sustainable products you can. But do you have the feeling that in the market, we're talking about outlay costs. Everybody looks, what am I paying? Are people becoming more aware that it's maybe necessary to pay a little more for a product that's more sustainable?
I think there are first movers who are asking that just because of a personal reason. But what will change is 23, that we have these so-called, we are terrible in Germany with words, Lieferketten-Sorgfaltspflichtengesetz. I write it down on English because I cannot. It's a supply chain due diligence law, which sounds already better. But it says that you have to take care about your supply chain. And it started, I think, with 3,000 corporations with 3,000 people. Then it goes down to 1,000 people as employees in a company in 24. The Europeans said, no, it should be 500. So they're figuring out how to do it. But everyone knows now from big corporations, we need to get information in our supply chain. Right? This is what you're trying to do as well, because you want to do it, but they now need to do it and have to do it. So they asking these questions, and more in tenders, these questions comes to us as well. They're asking, okay, what can you tell us how you're working as a company? Do we have any certifications, any code of conduct or whatever? How you deal with that? So yes, so I would say it just came now because the law, the guy who makes the rules forces and give a framework. And I think frameworks are important. So it's a good thing that we are all now know in 30 we need to reduce 50%, and in 2050 it's the point. So now we can plan against these dates, and economy and companies need that. Right? We can talk about dates if we can keep that dates or whatever, we can make it agile, but we need a point where someone is saying this is what we want to reach. Otherwise, no one is committed to that point. So yes, I would say more and more clients asking that questions.
To further that out, Ilona, I mean, the Green Globe certification, is that a marketing thing for your members? Is it something that they can sell?
So on the one hand, I'm convinced that it's a competitive advantage if you're certified, even if you have a clear positioning in sustainability. But of course, it's not just the marketing. You have to do it by your heart, and it's it's more than marketing, of course. So, everybody should be certified or have this clear positioning.
But do you already have some clients or customers, people that want to do events that ask, are you certified?
Yes.
So it is an
really,
issue.
you can, it's more and more that clients asking for it. I'm glad about that, because when we started 10, 12 years ago, there was nobody asking for it. So I was a little bit embarrassed, but right now I feel we are on the way, and everybody will be aware of sustainability. So we are on a good way.
That sounds good. Mike, like I said, you started pretty early. You were talking about the lower hanging fruit. What would you say was the most difficult thing to get done in your venue?
First of all, it's about communication, and this is a very important point. You have to communicate clearly where you want to go. You have to talk to your people, and you have to make sure that this is a long-term process. It's not a project. And I had to learn that as well, because my expectations were, okay, that might take 2 years, and then I'm ready, and then I can do something else. And then I realized, oops, it's not like that. So I have to do more on my communication. This is also a lack of leadership if you're not doing it. And sometimes I feel myself, okay, I didn't communicate well enough on this. So that was one issue for us. And there's a management saying that the culture eats strategy for breakfast. And it is like that. You have to be very much aware of the culture in your company, what's going on there. Do we have the right people? Do we have the right mindset? What can I do to make them more aware of that and all that? And this is a very, very difficult thing.
I'm looking at the audience and hoping, does anybody have a question? Anybody interested in any special topic? Because that's why we're here, basically also to hear maybe what you would like to know.
You can ask if somebody is making a decision on an event with a label or something.
Is there somebody in the audience that now is really seriously considering only doing an event at a location that has a Green Globe certification, for example? Anybody here from the event industry, or how many of the technical service providers out there, when they're purchasing equipment, are looking at the energy efficiency or maybe repairability of the product they're buying? Anybody out there?
I mean, Randell, until at that point, you can think about your question. And especially because you mentioned the energy efficiency, and I know that you are very involved in this eco-design framework, which will be also a big change for manufacturers. Everyone in this hall, hopefully they hear me, have to change their products in the future. They're thinking about a so-called digital product passport, and it will be included in the framework of the eco-design framework. So what does it mean? So every product should have they want to do it mainly because they want to avoid greenwashing, right? And what they want to do is like some things they want to make it a circular economy, so they want their products have a longer lifetime to be repaired. That manufacturers think about you're not gluing batteries to things that you cannot change it and whatever, and these kind of things. But also, of course, to show in a product what kind of CO2 is involved in the supply chain. And with that, you see already a problem, because if we do it in European Union, and I produce a lot in the world, how the producers, how I manage that, how I manage and how the European Union still stay competitive if we do these kind of CO2 passporting. So, and this is a big political discussion going on about the carbon leakage problem, how we can avoid that industries moving out of the European Union, especially when you think about that we need some industries to be not dependent in terms of crisis and political leaders we talked about. Because of course it's cheaper to produce steel and wood in Russia, but you don't want to see how they do it. And if you calculate it rightly, it's have another price when it's arrived here. And you see that to deal with that problems, you are in a political shark tank, right? So that's the task, not from us,
No.
right? But it's an issue which is going on. But the digital product pass is the first step to show what products, at least, which footprint have it. Like the one like you have with the energy bulbs or whatever, so
Right.
that you have a digital thing. And there's actual, I think, a tender running
Right.
for a company which
To
should make
produce
3 prototypes of the digital product passport. Everyone is
There will
waiting
be-
for that.
And
Yeah.
each product, there's lots of ideas out there. And the Eco Design Directive has already created what's called EPREL, which is a website where every consumer in Europe can, for certain products, check and see how energy efficient are they really. And all of these things enabling consumers to be able to see what is the CO2 footprint. But like Alexander was saying, you can imagine we're also an association that has to do with worldwide businesses. We're going to have problems with the World Trade Organization. Already the Chinese are saying protectionism, because of course they don't want to have the same quality standards maybe, because maybe they aren't able to produce like some of the European manufacturers can. So we see it's a very interesting thing happening, and something I think what's very important was what Mike was saying, this communication, and I think a very good or English word would be awareness, that we simply are all aware there's no turning back. We are all going to have to ask ourselves these questions. We're going to have to talk with each other about how do we reach these goals, and also be very honest about it. Or my dealings with the European Commission have always been, with the eco-design, to be honest, at the beginning they're sort of rough, you've got to do this, and we're not listening and whatever, and then you say, but listen, we can get that done by 2026. I've got somebody here from the Research and Development Department from a big lighting company. They say we can get this done by, what about that? Well, they're willing, because they're seeing the industry itself is saying we want to reach that goal as well, but we'll have to be honest, we're not going to make it as quickly as you may have thought, but we're working towards that. And what I'd really love to do is sometime go to Brussels and say, we're going to reach that goal before you want us to, because then we would be one of the leading industries in this direction. But let me ask a question that I have to ask, because we're here at the first trade show in Frankfurt, I think since 2.5 years, right?
3 years.
Right? Or 3 years? Yeah, you're right, Alexander. Well, can't we just do everything digitally, Mike? I mean, wouldn't that
No.
be more sustainable?
No, never, ever. No. This life experience, we need this. And we need the real talk. We need the real communication. We need to exchange and to meet physically. This is a basic need for human beings. Never,
That sounds
ever.
like a no. What about you, Ilona? Should we get a 3D from the Lübecker user, and people can go there virtually as an avatar?
No. Clear no. So our business is people business. And we had, like Mike told us already, we have to meet each other face to face. We did it before. We will do it in the future.
But I think Alexander might be a little bit on my point. There are some formats, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So it was interesting
Yeah.
because on Monday evening we hosted an event in our experience center around the corner here, and the talk was what the future, right? It was like there was a guy invited which from the future talking about the metaverse and what kind of formats are working quite good at the moment, and I had the position to challenge him, and what we agreed on was. And his punchline, I want to take part of that idea, was he showed at the Apple keynote in 2007, where Steve Jobs presented the iPhone, and there was 3 elements in it. And as he opened the discussion, it was like, he said, I have an iPhone, or I present you an iPod without a jog wheel. You know the wheels they had before. Everyone was clapping like hell. Oh, great! then a phone without a how you call it, the tastatur, the keyboard, without a keyboard, only touch. Oh, wow, wow, wow. And 3, and everyone was clapping like hell. And then a breakthrough new internet communication device, and was like, oh, that was the Explorer, the Internet Explorer. So it was 2007. When we're looking now, what stays? The touch screen didn't change our life. Also not the phone. And if the jog wheel was disappearing or nothing. But what changed our life now is the internet, that we can go to every information mobilely and get information. I think screen will disappear in the future. That was also we agreed on. But to make it more positive at the end here is, so there will be a match and a merge of digital and life. And why? Just simply because people like to synchronize in a room and wants to be toxicated together and not alone. When I'm talking about toxination, it's like you don't drink alcohol alone with a Oculus Rift on your head. It will be a quite awkward situation for you. Or put a pill. Hopefully not many people make that. But if you're looking at the younger generation, it's the reality. So you don't do that at home alone. At least you have a medical issue then. But I think that 2 things are quite clear, that we have a very good future if we adapt and surprise and create magic. And that's part of organizing events. So hopefully event organizers take that very serious and look from the customer perspective. Because the argument of, yes, it's nice to be together and meet in person stays 1 year. 1 year, this year, perhaps next year. But then you cannot take this argument again. Yes, it's nice to have a talk with Ilona and Randell and, right, with you. Because then we had it already. The question would be then, what's next? What's surprising, right? What happened? What band? What food? What sustainability thing? What I learned today? How I get inspired and surprised? And I think if you have great and creative, and I'm sure we have that, people around, then we have a great future in front of us. Sorry, a long answer for a small question.
A good answer, I think. And by the way, if you stick around, we have one more roundtable coming up. We'll have Mort Staffel for Dearsoft. He's more of a, someone would say metaverse is something we should be really looking into. And also have Herbert from your company talking about innovation, because this is all part of, we didn't want to do a long presentation today. I could have done a lot about transformation literacy and the fact that, of course, innovation is going to play a role. And there are going to be formats, I agree with Alexander, I think we really don't know exactly where we're going to be headed, but of course technology is going to play a role. And of course the connectivity that we've gotten used to is going to play a role, and I'll be very honest, there are some good things about also being in Microsoft Teams. You know, if you don't have to travel someplace, you have an hour talk with some people at our headquarters. Why should I be traveling to do that if I'm somewhere? There are some good things that we can do with that. But I think I would agree with Alexander. One more attempt. Does anybody have a question? Wie gesagt, auch durchaus auf Deutsch ist kein Problem. Also,
ich spreche auch ein bisschen Deutsch.
Ja, genau, stimmt. Das stimmt.
Und die anderen auch.
Haben wir schon mal in LA gemacht sogar, ne? Auch wenn man in LA ist, kann man Deutsch reden. No, but like I said, we would be interested in maybe I'll just ask that. How many of you would be prefer to now be online? Because we talked about doing a live streaming of this event. Okay? Would you rather be online? Well, I think we have a lot of very heavy Präsenzveranstaltungspeople here today. So I see most of you, or all of you, would really rather have a live type of a format. Well, Arvid said about a half an hour. I knew he would be coming up. Thank you.
Mic's working? Yes. Thank you all so much. I thought it was super interesting, and also to see you guys in action discussing about all the things you just presented today. Thank you so much. But actually, I have a question, if I may. I do have a question, because usually it's like this. Randell, you know this better than I do. Never leave the spot without being willing to do something, right? And I think in my experience, what happens is knowing things and doing things are two different things. They're separate. Now, we all know how important sustainability is. We're like, yeah, let's go. We have these amazing people right here. We're inspired. Now, what are we going to do about it now? So this is a question I might, if I may, want to throw into this circle.
I have an answer. It's a little bit like Ilona was saying, or also Mike. Start with the very simple things. You know, take the bike instead of the car, or walk. Especially if I'm in the United States, that's my big thing, because you know people will take a car to drive 200 meters. You know, and you're going, might be better to just walk over there. But like I said, that's very easy, and it helps the planet. Does?
But you need a
Why
plan.
to walk in LA, Randall,
You need
sometimes.
a plan still. You need a plan to go for that.
What about...
No,
yeah,
I
go
don't
ahead,
think
please.
you just need a plan. Of course, it's better to have a plan, but I think we have to just start, just try something. So
I'm not saying that you don't start. It's just you should have a plan where you want to go.
But we answered something already because you asked it, the question, what everyone can do. And I think switch energy to, reduce energy, which means like taking bus, pooling cars, asking the question in your company, right? Also reduce energy, eat less meat. I'm totally convinced that help, or at least invest a little bit in real meat. And what was the third thing? Less energy, eco, and and recycle and try to reuse. Yeah.
I think too, what Mike was said as well. I think we have to realize, of course, we're going to have to change. It can't stay the way it has been. It's like Alexander was saying. I think 60% of the grain in Germany is spent to feed animals that are then, you know, all these things we know, and now we simply have to say, maybe not a good idea.
I mean, everything, just one point, because of this meat thing, I have a problem with that, really. It's a big, if you really, and I think most of you do that, I had some documentations or whatever, it's horrible what's going on. It's a big problem how we treat in mass production animals. It's a huge, if this will not change, we have a problem. And the other thing is everything behind the petrol station is also shit. Go back to the supply chain, you end up in a hole somewhere, bringing the up, and then transportation is a problem, ocean is I mean, it's all a problem. The same as with the animals. If it's not sustainably at least tried that the animals had a good life, it's a problem. And all these two things, it's really, we have to tackle these two things, which is already a lot of work, and then you can add a lot of extra layers on it, but you personally can try with these steps you just combined. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So you have to keep resources for that. It's not like you can put this additional work on your employees and just say, okay, now you have additional project for you. So this is also, you have to be aware of that. We need additional resources.
And also, thank you so much. And also, let me challenge you a little bit, if it's okay for you, because we have the time, and I think I just want to take the role and place of really asking questions that appear in our heads, and maybe some people are not really so open to talk about it or ask the question. So sustainability still, to me, even though you presented so many ideas and best practices and concepts, it's still something that's complex, and it may seem very big for some people in the audience. So how do I deal with the resistance or with the challenge? Like, I want to be sustainable, but what comes next as a thought? And how do I deal with that emotion or thought?
First of all, what you shouldn't do is, what I probably have done in the beginning as well, is try to convince other people. So that doesn't make sense. And then you have to really to find out where you can go with what you want to do. But it's very, from your mindset, it's very important not to try to be dogmatic, to teach other people, to bring yourself above others. This is not a helpful attitude in this process.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think go step by step and celebrate small things as well. We call it the the cotton bag discussion. We started with, is it better to have a cotton bag on an exhibition or a paper bag? And you can talk for hours, because of course you can buy a eco paper bag or whatever. We said, what about no bags? Or backpacks, you can use a lot of backpacks. You can use it for a long time and stuff like that. And do it step by step. Start small and celebrate the things you reach. Because like Matthias, right? Was it? Mike, sorry, I don't know. Mike, sorry, Mike Keller. I'm so sorry. So Mike said it's a culture. The culture change. Don't do green products. Be a green company. That's very important, right? Don't try to make green products to make profit out of it. Try to be a green company and start step by step. Because as every employee change their life, because you learn together and experience, you make much more impact than just your company, right? So see it as a journey, but start, right?
And you have to accept mistakes.
Right, it's not an
We don't like that, but it is like that.
It's not an easy path. I know from Alexander's company, for example, in their packaging department, they tried things out that they thought would be very sustainable. And in the end, like I said, it is going to be maybe a little bit of a difficult path, but my gosh, we've had difficult things before. I really believe in humankind and our capability of tackling these types of issues. And so many people here already today, and I really do think that in our industry, this topic has arrived. I really believe that people are considering what can I do now, what's already there. Like I said, Green Globe, EVVC started this very early. That's a great certification program that you could start immediately. You don't have to say, oh, what's out there? The information from EVC, I'm sure there's no problem in that. Of course, I have to do my little advertising thing, and of course, maybe become a member of an association, because we are also all trying to help move this industry forward, not only in the political standpoint, but in general. And I think this togetherness, if we all come together, also sometimes to disagree, that's also fine, about how things need to be done, but we need to be talking about this, making sure we have resources for it, like Mike was saying. Don't go into it with, well, this will be easily done. I may have to have some people in my company that are just, asking these questions and making sure that things are getting done. But like I said, I'm very optimistic that in 20 years' time, we'll be much further down the path than we may even think today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Mike, you want to say something?
Yes, I think we don't have that much time, honestly.
Oh, we do.
You're right. I said way down.
We do have the time.
We have to speed up, and we have to kick ass in all directions. And this goes also to the owners of all companies who have, at the last, decision, they have to make up their minds. So we really have to speed up, and we have only one planet.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think that's very, very nice. Ein sehr schönes Abschlusswort, glaube ich, für diese Diskussion, für diesen Panel. Ein großes Dankeschön an Ilona Jarabek, Managing Director Musik- und Kongresshalle Lübeck und Präsidentin des EVVC, an Mike Keller, Managing Director Markthalle Hamburg und Sustainability Manager and Consultant, und last but not least Alexander Pietschmann, Chief Executive Officer der Adam Hall Group, und vielen Dank an Randell als Moderation heute und Presenter, Director of Commerce and International Affairs vom VPLT.